Hey, good Sunday morning, friends. Mark Holmes here with my buddy Cowboy Joe Boo, and as always, thank you guys for watching, commenting, and subscribing to the Joe Boo Sports Report. Without you guys, this literally does not work. Let's get open for business. And let's wake up the football gods up here and wish everybody a happy Sunday. Today is the last day of this heat wave, and then the temperature is going to drop. Man, it's bad out there. So please drink plenty of fluids. Take it easy. Don't push yourself too much. Don't try and be the tough guy. Man, this heat doesn't bother me because you might end up being dead. And shout out to my friend Richard, man. Their AC broke yesterday and won't be fixed until like Tuesday. And I know there's a lot of people out there suffering. So, like I said, take it easy. Richard, you guys can come hang over here and stuff. We can talk football and everything else. So, here we sit. Next week, we will be in training camp. Or should I say this week? It is Sunday. They'll be at Oxnard. This is really the last Sunday that we're not talking about finally players on the field because the off season is so hard. Let's be honest here. The off season is just hard to take. We all want to talk about football. We want to be, in the know. We want to see the players on the field hitting and everything else. But you have to have the off season. Players need time for their bodies to heal. Teams need time to prepare for the next season. The season, I know it seems short, but you just can't do basketball or baseball 80 or 162 games, It's football because it's a war of attrition. Now, the Dallas Cowboys this offseason have had problems like nobody else has had. And they're actually good problems. The fact that you've got not one, not two, not three, but four players that are looking to get that next contract. We know that Big Ben got his contract. The Steelers had to take care of that, although they're still paying some money to Antonio Brown and stuff. But, they only had to worry about paying Big Ben. Same thing with Russell Wilson. They looked at it and said, we're just going to pay Russell Wilson. Well, the Cowboys had to pay DeMarcus Lawrence. He's been, over the last 2 years, one of the most dominant defenders and consistently, not just with sacks, but quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, as well as run stopping. He is an interesting key to the cog because what he allows to do is teams are having to worry about him. His stunting ability, being able to go inside and stuff, is paramount to the rest of the guys on the defense. Because that guy is really good, he takes up the focus, which means there's more guys that aren't getting double teamed. That's why you see a Malik Collins that does well, or you see a Tyrone Crawford that does well, or a Randy Gregory, because attention's focused over there. But you've got to keep that guy. And it's my argument that you now have the three pieces at the same time that we need. We've got a quarterback who's efficient, who does not turn over the football, who is clutch when the game's on the line. He's got ice water in his veins. You've got an elite back, a generational back, who can put the team on his back and run out the clock or break a team's back by running a big one. You got a dynamic wide receiver who can play inside, can play outside, who garners enough attention that it ends up making the other guys better. Look, it wasn't just Amari Cooper's numbers in the second half of the season. It was everybody's numbers in the second half of the season. Not just Dak. Dak ended up passing 60 some yards more per game in the second half of the season. But you notice your tight end, Blake Jarwin, by the end of the season, 3 touchdowns against the Giants. Those numbers went up. You saw Michael Gallup. So that guy, and what you'll probably find out next year is that he's going to get more double teams. His numbers may not be as great, but what you'll see is all these other guys getting opportunities. And that's what you have to understand. And having a quarterback who can run if he needs to, that can hit a guy, a wide receiver that can play in and out and adding some other pieces, of course, with that. Having Zeke in that backfield, it will give defensive coordinators nightmares, especially if the wild card being Kellen Moore can show different looks than where we were, where we are not predictable. It used to be that our offensive line was so dominant, it didn't matter if the other team knew that we're running to this spot right here. We're still going to run to this spot right here, and we challenge you to stop it. And we're not going to do anything different until you do. But in today's NFL, as your players get older, as teams learn how to scheme against you, you got to keep them guessing. And that's where you are having these three pieces. Make no mistake about it. We have tried not having one of these pieces each time. It's been a failure. 2015, 4-12 season, 1-11 without Tony Romo, without a quarterback. And all these people are just saying that Dak's just a bus driver. Well, you know, if that were the case, then anybody would be able to step in. And we had three guys that couldn't bust a grape. But Dak came in there 13-3. So you know you got to have a quarterback. And that year we had a running back in Zeke Elliott. We had Dez the second half of the season, but it still was those three main pieces. When Zeke went out, or when Zeke doesn't have great games, you see the team comes back down to earth. We're 4-3 without Zeke. 4-3. Not awful, but not good. And considering two of those games were against the Giants, you kind of have to look at those a little bit differently. We went into the season without a true number one wide receiver, without Dez. We had Zeke back. We had the quarterback. We didn't have the wide receiver. Without that, we went 3-5. So you put the three of those together. After every one of those talking heads had written this team off and said that the Cowboys got taken, the Raiders took advantage of the Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper's checked out. He's not the guy. But you put those three pieces together, Dak, Zeke, and Amari. They go 7-1, 1-1 in the playoffs. You got to have all three. And as I listen to all these talking heads that say, you can't do this, you can't do that, I'm going to ask you this. As we listen to all these people that tell us you can't do this and you can't do that, how many of these guys seem to get it right? I'm just asking. How many Super Bowls has Chris Carter won? How many teams has Jason Whitlock GM'd to Super Bowls? How many? It's their opinions, or maybe it's ESPN's or the company line that they're putting out there. But who knows? All I know is the Dallas Cowboys DNA is great running, great passing, great defense. You put all those together. If you can keep all those things together, I don't know if they'll win a Super Bowl this year, but you have to look at this and say, with this being one of the younger teams in the NFL, but here's the difference. There are teams that are younger, but you look at the experience that this team has. This team, our rookie class from last year had over 3,500 snaps. You look at a Leighton Vander Esch. You look at a Michael Gallup. These guys are going to be great players. Running backs, we all know 27, 28 is the magical number. That's when things change. And as much as they tell you, trade him, get a boatload of picks, that's great in theory, but it's not going to happen. You're not getting boatloads of picks anymore. People realize the value of draft picks. It doesn't happen. Sounded like something electrical was cracking over there. You have to look at it and say, right now, we have built this roster and stacked it full of young talent. We're the seventh youngest, I believe, team in the NFL. You got a running back who's in his prime. You got a wide receiver who's in his prime. Your offensive line is in their prime and getting up there. You have to look at this and say, this is about a 4-year window to win it all, which is why you keep these pieces together. Now, you could try and be cheap, but I know this. When I go out and I buy tools, I love tools. And tools, man, you have to have the right tool to do the job. You can make do with some lesser tools, you know? But when we were in Puerto Rico, for example, we ended up having to chop out some cement on the walls for the windows because the windows were too big. And I said, I need an angle grinder and I need a hammer drill. They come back with a Ryobi angle grinder. And I said, man, come on. Are you kidding me? I said, I got 7 windows I've got to score the concrete with this thing. It's not going to last. I got through 2 windows and that sucker burned up. They went ahead. They got me the DeWalt one, the one that cost twice the amount of money. That one went through every single one of those like hot butter. And not only that, the concrete had high spots that we had to level out. So we spent the day leveling out some of that concrete with that angle grinder. And when I left Puerto Rico, that angle grinder was donated to other charities and still running. And see, that's the difference. When they tell you, you know what, don't pay that, that's okay. Go out, you can get a cheaper quarterback. How's that cheaper quarterback been working out for other teams? Not real good, has it? But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy with a day job and a voodoo doll. But I've got some more work to do, guys. We've got some major changes we're going to be doing here in the man cave, getting ready for the season. It's going to start looking a little bit different later this week. And I'm getting the outside together. Got the cabinet built for the refrigerator over there, the new countertop for the tasty beverages. Football season is here. And I can't wait. I'm Mark Holmes, and I will see you guys later.